how many agencies have you gone through that are bad because red flag? Chances are it's not the agency, it is you. Look, I've spent a lot of time, crapping on a lot of different agencies out there. Obviously, we run an agency. I can make this the biggest self-promotion possible, but there are a ton of great agencies out there. Usually, it fails. It fails for two reasons. One is, welcome everybody to the Ask Jason show. It's very weird introducing myself. Megan used to do the introduction. Remember when you used to do the intro?
I know we had a full intro.
Yeah, now you're so comfortable on camera. Before then, it was like, well, like you had to read the script. It's like, all right, I got this. Let's move through this.
I still have to read the script, Jason. What are you talking about?
No. You're comfortable. You're good. We made you into a star. Everyone watches the show for you. No one watches it for me anymore. But cool. Yeah, like we every week we're here live answering questions. Gets turned to a podcast, so you could listen to it later. Put hashtag replay if you're listening to this later on, and we keep it up there. And if you have any questions, just put them in the comments, even if it's after the show is live, because we will get to it next week. That's what we do. We scroll through and we see if there's any comments. You could also mail them in. But yeah, Megan, let's get to it.
Okay. First question is from Josh. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm interested in joining a coaching program. How do I know if my business is at a point in which I would benefit from a coaching program? That's a good one.
Everyone benefits from a coaching program, right? Like that's the truth. Everyone has another level they want to get to, whether they're starting off and they want to get to level 1, whether they're on level 5 and they want to get to level 10. Everyone could benefit from a coaching program. It's just finding the coaching program that solves the goals you're looking for. And when you're first starting off, it may be a coaching program that's free, like a free little group or a Facebook group or a Telegram group or a Slack group that you're paying a small monthly fee to so that you can go in. And then as you start making progress, you start paying more and more and more. The reason why coaching programs get more expensive isn't because it's proximity. Coaches charge for proximity. So you could come in and I have tons of free ways that I could help you, right? Social media is a way. You could ask me questions on social media. You could come on the Ask Jason show and ask me whatever question you want, totally free. Then there are people who, want, more time with me. So there's group coaching. And group coaching will be less of an investment than one-on-one coaching because that just requires more of my time. And you pay for the proximity to the person you're getting coaching. So every business at every point, every person at every point can benefit in getting better. And that's when you make the investment in a coach or into a program. And like I said, you don't need to go out say, hey, I never made a sale before, but I want to learn how to get started. And I'm going to pay $15,000 to some coach out there to get me started and then go in the negative $100,000. I mean, it would be a good idea if you knew that you could 10X that money, right? Like as an investment, then yeah, you go into debt to get in and make more money. But I started off with tons of coaches and mentors that I never paid a cent to. And then I started realizing I wanted to be around more power players. And in order to do that, I had to start paying. And it was a pay-to-play type of game. So the fact that you're asking that question means you're probably ready for some coaching, which means you're, part of what we spoke about, I think it was last week we talked about, I don't remember anymore. One of the questions was, how do you know you're coachable?
Yeah, I think that was last week.
Yeah, being coached, like you're looking for a coach, which clearly means you're coachable, hopefully, and realizing that you want to get better, and you realize that it's a cheat, like a cheat code. So the fact that you realize that is a good start, and then now just start figure out who you want to get to, and if the person you want is $100,000 a year, maybe they have a group coaching that's less. Maybe they have a free group. Right, so slowly start getting into that person's world, and then, when you start making money off of them, go do it. I've seen people make way more money off free coaching than they have when they paid a coach. So, there are people who pay coaches and then just never listen to a word the coach says. And then there are people who are really, really eager to grow. So they take the free advice and they soak it in and they go apply it right away and they start making some money. So that's my answer.
Okay.
That's my answer.
Perfect. Okay. Next question. What's your best advice for a successful Black Friday campaign for my e-com store? And this is from Gary.
Make the offer as simple as possible. I mean, I can't give you my best advice for an offer for your e-com store when I don't even know. This goes, if you're going to put questions, at least try to give some context. Be like, hey, I run a store that does this, this, this. Here's the price point. What would you recommend I do? But e-com store, I run an e-com store is so vague. I don't know if you're selling $100,000 products. I don't know if you're selling $1 products. So hard for me to say, but I will say that all you have to do is just make sure the offer is super clear and it's your best offer possible. If you're going to do like 5% off or 10% off, unless you're like a luxury brand that never goes on sale, not going to work. It's going to get lost in the mix. Make your offer super simple. I see a lot of people try to stack it. Buy 1, 5% off. Buy 3, 10% off. Buy 4, 8, like 20% off. Buy 10, 13% off, and different codes and different level. Just make it one site. No code. Apply to the site, go, make money, make sure you have inventory, make sure you're ready to go. That's my best advice for Black Friday.
So simple is probably the best way to go about it. Simple
is always the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Simple is always. I mean, we as humans make things way more complex than they ever need to be. Like, I mean, who said it? There was a quote that was like, make things simple, but not too simple, right? Like that's, the goal is to get things as simple as possible. Great business and life advice.
Okay. This one is from Jennifer. I'm having bad luck with marketing agencies. What are a few signs that show the agency knows what they're doing and knows how to run ads, etc.?
How many agencies have you gone through that are bad? Because red flag. Chances are it's not the agency, it is you. If you've gone through 15 agencies and they've all been bad, chances are it's you. Look, I've spent a lot of time crapping on a lot of different agencies out there. Obviously, we run an agency. I can make this the biggest self-promotion possible, but there are a ton of great agencies out there. Usually, it fails for two reasons. One is your fault, and one could be the agency's fault. And it's usually because there's no expectation set up. So baked into every single one of our agreements, we have this, something I learned from a good friend, Justin Brook, who is probably one of the OGs in the ad space game, is we have baked into our contract that, hey, we're partners on this. Our job is to bring high qualified traffic alone, but high qualified traffic doesn't necessarily equate to sales. If we do our job and you do your job, everything's going to be great. And what's your job? Your job is to make sure you have a landing page that converts, that you're watching your conversion rate, that your inventory is there, that your customer service is great, that you have a great product, all those things. Too many people try to go to an agency and look at the agency as like, all right, perform your magic and make this piece of crap into the most desirable gold possible that everyone wants. Doesn't really work like that. Maybe olden days was easier to do, but now with so much stuff out there and inundated with so much, and all it takes is one person being like, hey, this was crap, that spreads it all around, you're done. So, I mean, you can't get away with doing things like that anymore. So set up expectations. I think a lot of times also the clients who come onto us, who come into our agency, that tend to be the worst type of clients, I would say, that turn out to be bad clients, are ones that just keep trying to abdicate the responsibility of a goal. I've been like, well, what do you think our goal should be? What do you think the goal should be? What do you think the strategy should be? What do you think? if we're going to be consultants on this, which obviously we have a consulting agency too, but if we're consultants on there, then we could advise on goals. But as an agency, you don't want your agency being responsible for the strategy and the goals that you're going to go after, because like that's your business. We're not in it day to day to day to day, hour by hour, minute by minute, second by second. We are not living and breathing your brand. And that's hard for a lot of brands to hear when they pay an agency fee. They're like, hey, you guys should be eating, sleeping, breathing. No, that would cost you way, way, way more money. But we're in there to make sure that we do our job, and we follow the goals. And I think a lot of agencies either one, accept that responsibility of creating the goals, and then it just creates bad blood, because obviously the goal doesn't match what the client really wants, because the client doesn't really know what they want, and it just goes round and round, and the client's not happy, but the client's happy for some part, and then they're not happy anymore, and then they start wondering about the price, and it's a bad example. It's a bad cycle. The other thing that it could be is that the agency takes on that client and accepts they're out of whack goals, right? So they say, hey, we want to do a 15x return on our ad spend. And the agent's like, yeah, we got you. Yeah, no problem. And then they're like, cool, we'll lock these guys in. We'll lock these guys in for 90 days. And then after 90 days, we'll slowly teach them that 15x is not good. I was taught by one of my mentors that early on that two things kill a business: bad clients and bad team, right? Those are the two things that kill a business. Shout out to Taylor Welch for teaching me that. But two things kill that business. So if you take on bad clients, you will kill your business. So you have to learn in order to say no. So I get it, when you're starting off, you want that money and it's good. You want to say yes, but it's just going to lead to headaches and eventually lead to a bad reputation. We say no to more clients than we say yes to. Just the other day, I was on a sales call and I was talking to somebody. They came in through a referral, and I was talking to them, and I was like, all right, well, what are your goals? Let's talk. This isn't a sales call. Let's just have a conversation. And he was telling me his goals. I'm like, those are ridiculous. It's like, why? I'm like, you haven't made a cent yet, and that's what you're aiming for. Like, come on, let's be realistic.
Yeah.
And I would have that conversation, and I'm tough like that because I want them to see. And they're like, well, another agency told me, that within 60 days, that's not unreasonable. I said, 60 days, you're looking at 6 months at least to get to that point. So he's like, so we'd have to pay you for 6 months before we could probably start seeing everything close to that. I'm like, if. He's like, what do you mean if? I'm like, if. What if your product doesn't really, no one wants it? Right? Like they were pre-revenue, but they had a ton of money and they had data, so it's not like that's a typical startup. But I was like, we need data. We need to get this up and running. So yeah, 6 months, and we'll probably know after 90 days closer, but we'll have to tweak and we'll have to do a bunch of different things. 6 months, and it goes, what's the guarantee after 6 months? I'm like, well, 6 months worth of data. It's like, well, you can't even guarantee I'll hit 250,000 in sales. I'm like, no, I would never guarantee that to you, but we'd be really good if we hit that. That would be really good. We'd probably want a nice big bonus off of that. And he started laughing, but he's like, you're the only agency that told me that. Am I good? Feel free to go through all those other agencies before we come back and realize that we're right.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to think about it because another agency said this and this. I said, no problem. You go think about it. You go dissect what they told you and what I told you. But I'd rather lose the sale. I don't care. And the reason I don't care is because this guy's going to go to another agency that promised them that, and he's going to call them every single day, 15 times a day. What's happening? What's going on with my account? What's going on? Why isn't this going? Why isn't this going? And time suck that entire agency dry, and that agency is going to end up firing him, or they'll end up firing the agency. And then that goes back to the first question we got asked. Is like, I've been through 15 agencies. They're all bad.
Yeah.
How do I find a good one? Maybe you need to work on yourself.
That
was a long rant.
It was. but worth it.
Done. Yeah.
Okay.
No one's going to want to
great.
ask questions if I'm going to answer for 15 minutes on it. But that gets me passionate.
Okay. So our next question is from Brian. How do I know if it's time to break up with my business mentor?
How do I know if it's time to break up with my business mentor? If they are not serving you anymore, if you've outgrown them, if you have outgrown, if you're not finding value, you're not showing up to calls anymore, you don't find any value in what they're bringing, forget the time of the call. Like, you're just not showing up because you don't want to. We have people in our coaching program that sometimes don't show up to the call because time zone problems or commitment to work problems. That's fine. But if you're just not showing up because you don't want to, you find no value there anymore, and you have nothing to ask them because there's zero value, probably time to break up. But a mentor, you don't really break, a mentor, you don't really break up with. The mentor is usually someone who's ahead of you that could help you get to where you need to be. Or if you lost trust in them. Sometimes I've had a mentor and I was like, cool, I listened to them. And then, you start coming up with your own thoughts and you start getting your own experiences and you start realizing you want to do things a little bit differently. And then you find a mentor that you vibe with a little bit better. I think most of coaching, hiring a coach and mentor comes down to vibes and vibrations and connections. Like, do you connect with this person? Like, do you believe they could help you? Like, a lot of those things, like, do you want to be helped by this person? Like, a lot of it comes down to that. Skill, obviously, but I'm talking about the things that aren't the obvious. But a lot of things comes out to that. And for me as a coach to take on somebody is, do I like that person? Can I spend my extra time with them? Otherwise, is it worth it for me? Granted, they pay more for one-on-one coaching, but do I want to be bothered by that person? And if it's like, wow, like, I want to help this person, I vibe with them, it was great, then I'll do it. But just because you're willing to pay doesn't mean we'll take you, as you saw with the agency example.
Right. Okay. Okay. Looks like it's time for my question of the week.
My favorite one. Let's go, Megan. Make it a good one.
Interested to hear your response. What can I do as an e-com business client to make my agency's job easier?
Ooh, setting us up for our agency. I like it, Megan. Good thinking. Have a good product that people want. Make sure you're managing customer service. Make sure you have inventory. Make sure you're focusing on a website that converts. Make sure you're providing enough creative to the agency. Make sure that you are in constant communication in the sense of, like, strategy, goals, KPIs, the metrics that you're looking at. Making sure that you do everything in a timely manner. Not like, hey, we have a sale starting in 2 hours. Can you get these 15 ads up?
Yeah.
Make sure everything's done in a timely manner. Share your calendar. Ask for input from the agency on the calendar and the offers and whatnot. But those are, like, the main things. And say thank you. If they're doing a good job, say thank you. Less for me because I'm less in the day-to-day weed side of things. But, I'm in our Slack account and I obviously see communication with clients, and most don't say thank you. It's one of those things that you think you pay for and they're like an employee, but you would say thank you. I believe you say thank you to an employee. You go out to a restaurant and the waitress does a good job, you say thank you. We're not even talking about tips or bonuses. You say thank you, but you're also paid. You don't need to say thank you. It's their job to serve you. But results are good. I think people don't realize just how hard it is on media buyers and whatnot, and the constant stress that they're under to check. It's like a financial advisor. If you give a financial advisor $250,000 a month just to manage, every single month. The top ones, there's stress, and their job is to try to make you as much money as possible. We're managing, millions and millions of dollars at play. There's a high level of stress that goes into it. So just be courteous, just be kind, and make sure communication is always good.
Okay, perfect. Agree with every one of those, especially the communication part.
Yes.
Don't disappear on us.
Exactly. That goes into two things. There's too much communication, like where you need to check in every second. It's a bad thing. It's usually a lack of trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
No communication at all tends to be the opposite. Like is not good. Every agency is like, I don't want a client that ever talks to me. That's not true. Otherwise, you don't know what they're thinking. You don't know if you're doing a good job. You think you're doing a good job. And we've had this where we've had clients who are like, disappear on us for like 2 months, don't show up to any of the calls, don't respond inside Slack. And we're like, man, we're crushing it for these guys. And then they come on a random call, and they're like, hey, yeah, results aren't great. Right. What do you mean results aren't great? Look at everything. They're like, oh yeah, but that's not what we're measuring by anymore. We're measuring by this. Like, well, cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. When did you switch that? Oh, probably around 4 months ago. Oh, okay, cool. You haven't been on a call in 4 months, and you haven't responded to one message in 4 months. It'd be nice if you let us know your goals. But
exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Right.
Well, head on over to jportnoy.com if you want to work with us, or you can email Megan at jportmedia.com if you're interested in working with us. And until next week, you can put your question in the comments, and we'll get to you next week. Have a great week, everyone. Happy Monday. And thank you, Megan.
Bye.